2. Welcome back, WNST, Tassin, Baltimore, and WNST.net. It was a glorious evening over at the M&T Bank Stadium, the Purple Crab Cake. Dennis Koulatsos joins us now from over Coons Florida Security Boulevard, where he has not slept since Sunday night at midnight in all things. Hey, are you still sleeping in the original Lamar Jackson jersey that you bought a year and a half ago?
No, I have since washed it, Nestor, which is good news for everyone around me at the stadium. But a lot of fun, man. It's lots of Lamar gear all over the place. But since it was a blackout, I was wearing black from head to toe, dressed appropriately, and just soaking in just a terrific atmosphere at the stadium.
Now, before we get to any of this, I want to let you know that, first off, the Dennis Koulatsos show, I see new branding for the SSV on WNST. Yeah. But more than that, you had a really good-looking scarf on Sunday night. I mean, Sunday was a scarf night, and it's come to my attention. I mean, I have like a nice, colorful scarf that I've been wearing for a dozen years that I bought for $20 up on the street in New York a long time ago. I need to freshen up my scarf game. I need to get myself a purple scarf. It's time.
Yeah, it's a wonderful scarf. Got a lot of compliments on it. But you know what? There were a lot of good-looking, Ravens gear all over the stadium. People are they're coming off the money. They're buying Ravens gear. I'm seeing flags on cars around town. The passion, Nestor, is coming back, and I think it's great news for the community. I think sports bond us. We know that. We've seen it over space and time, and now with Lamar Jackson, it truly is a new era in this town, from head to toe, spending the money, getting all the Ravens stuff, and wearing it proudly wherever we're going.
Well, is your Jackson? Is it a black jersey, purple, white? Which color do you have?
Well, I got one right away, so my jersey is black with a purple number 8 on it. So it's look, they're good-looking jerseys, and I love the number 8, and I love what he's doing right now. He's growing so much as a player and as a person, leading the team. I mean, there was a play where Ronnie Stanley fell down, grabbed his knee, and the first person that ran over there was Lamar Jackson. It's those little intangible things that we see that show kind of a leader this young man is, and how he's polarized his team behind him, offense, defense, special teams, the coaching staff. Lots of great stuff happening.
Well, the best thing that happened is beating Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and all of the mystique. And you talk about signature wins, you talk about memorable nights at the stadium, you talk about Ed Reed and all of that. For you on Sunday night and assessing, what's the most impressive part of Sunday night for you?
Well, you know what? It was just the grit and resiliency that the team showed. Tom Brady, to me, looked very much like a check-down quarterback, and look, they came back. We knew they were going to come back. They had the defense on skates. They went with a quick huddle offense, but then the offense responded. 3 drives that were over 6 minutes and 50 seconds long. The offense scored 4 touchdowns. In the era where, the NFL rewards offense and the referees side with the offense, it's not a defensive league anymore. We can't win a Super Bowl like we did back in 2000 or even in 2012. You've got to put up points, and you know what? It was imperfect. There were some rough patches, but Lamar Jackson, never mind the 150-yard passing, the big plays, the third down conversions, fourth down conversions, they were all there when it counted. So this offense is scoring points, but just a total team victory from the coaching staff to the special teams to the players. Their ability to overcome the turnovers, the 2 fumbles, the fumbled punt, and the Mark Ingram fumble, to be able to come back after those short field possessions by the Patriots, Nestor, was epic.
Well, I asked Coach Harbaugh in the aftermath of all of it about that period in the second quarter where Brady was finding open pasture. He was running the no huddle. The Nouveau crowd doesn't know enough to get loud enough to stop that from happening. And then the inevitable mistake happened that opened the door. I mean, it was a 17-0 slobber knocker, at that point. The Cyrus Jones fumble, it really changed everything about the momentum of the game. Lesser teams, younger teams, maybe in other eras, this thing would have turned out differently at the end, but the pull away, the way they played in the second half, and the way they answered Tom Brady's counterpunch after the mistakes that were made.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And the first Patriots touchdown, Nestor, there was a double pick there that the referees missed. It was obvious. That's why the receiver was so wide open. So they were able to overcome a lot of rough patches in that game and bond together. And I didn't think the game was as close as the score indicated. That it showed 37-20 at the end of it, but the Ravens clearly outplayed them on both sides of the ball. And again, a big shout out to the coaching staff. I know that Harbaugh's had his detractors over space and time in this town, but now that he's got a quarterback that matches his personality, I think now you're starting to see the coach really shine and take his game to the next level. And how great is that?
Well, we talk about here comes Brady and Belichick and what that represents and the coaching and where you are. Nobody for the last 2 weeks talked about John Harbaugh having 2 weeks and Wink Martindale and Greg Roman to self-scout, to get healthier, to take some time off after Seattle. I think most of us were smelling ourselves here the last 2 weeks and feeling how good a 3,000-mile-away win over a Super Bowl MVP quarterback in Russell Wilson and how that felt. But we talk about Belichick being ready in January for teams because he has 2 weeks. This time last year, the pundits and others were throwing John Harbaugh out of here, right? And there was going to be regime change and new things, and he was going to move on and coach the Packers or the Dolphins or whatever. And now I would think if you're the other team, if you're the Bills a couple weeks from now, if you're Houston 2 weeks from now, you've got to deal with John Harbaugh and with Lamar Jackson and with Greg Roman and Wink Martindale with what they can put together to beat you in multiple ways. I'm still worried about our pass rush in a traditional way. I'm always worried about, hanging on to the football, and that was an issue for Mark Ingram and for Cyrus Jones, and that opened the door for the Patriots on Sunday night. But by and large, team feels like it's getting a little healthier, feels like defensively the Marcus Peters upgrade, all the things that they've done here to fix problems that they've had earlier in the year. The world is their oyster. This is an exciting team. It's an exciting time. And a win like Sunday night changes the level of expectation around here greatly, Dennis.
No, it really does. And I will tell you this, Nestor. I ran into a good friend of mine before the game, and he had just talked to Wink Martindale's daughter, and she told him that she had never seen her dad so relaxed, so calm, so confident before a game. That, like as you mentioned, they had 2 weeks to prepare. They had a great game plan. They were able to adjust at halftime, which I thought was great on both sides of the ball. And those adjustments, the halftime adjustments, for them to work, again, give a lot of credit to this coaching staff. And I also think that at the halfway point that John Harbaugh has got to be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. I mean, he's got to be right up in the top three, I would think.
I would hope so at this point. Certainly Eric DeCosta almost getting pile drive by Marshall Yonda after the game. The one thing, Dennis, people have asked me, like, what's it like in the locker room? And I said the Kansas City game was interesting to me because that was a tough game. Matt Judon did not like the aftermath of that game. But there were many players milling about. And I've been doing this quarter of a century, Den, and usually on the road. And it has nothing to do with the media or me personally or who's coming over to the locker. It's usually, I'm going to get in the shower, get the hell out of here. I'm beaten up. I'm tired. Let me get some orange wedges. Let me get a boxed lunch. That's the stuff that's going on. Let me get into the training room and take care of whatever got banged up in the game. I started to notice early on this year in these locker rooms, whether it was up in Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago or Kansas City, even these road games, Seattle where it's bye week, these guys like each other. They sit around on their pads afterward. They almost don't want to get in the shower. They almost don't want to get on the bus. They almost don't want to leave because they're so engrossed in discussing the game, after the game. And I'm not saying that's not something that Mike Flynn and Edwin Mulatalo did 2 decades ago, or something that I saw Ray Lewis and Rod Woodson doing at a locker 22 years. Because I saw all of that. But this team strikes me as a little different in that way. And there really is a new energy because there is no more Suggs, there is no more Ray, there is no more Ed Reed. And there really is something about guys like you and me with a little silver in the temples now that when we go and see those 5 Hall of Fame jerseys down on the jackets down on the field, and we see these highlights that feel like they were yesterday, and you realize in Luke's case, oh, man, that was the day my father died. My God, that was 16 years ago. How long ago some of this stuff was, and where it is now that that when Matt Judon comes on the field and sees Ed Reed and Ray Lewis, we feel like we played with those guys, but Matt Judon was a kid in junior high watching this stuff, you know?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. As you mentioned, Marshall Yanna's got to be, 34, 35 years old, picking up and almost body slamming Eric DaCosta was just to see a veteran and hopefully another future Hall of Famer in Yanna with that kind of energy and enthusiasm after the game was very telling. Eric DaCosta was right behind me on the way to the inside the stadium. And I said, Eric, you don't have your own private gateway? He goes, nope, I go in the same way as you do. And I said, you know what, you're in the running for MVP as well. So, of course, being the kind of guy that he is, he deflects with the phrase. But you do see a very tightly knit locker room. This is a team not divided. We all know football is a complementary game. It's the ultimate team game. And those locker rooms, Nestor, and you've been in locker rooms all your life, I mean, they speak volumes about what this team does, particularly when the going gets tough. They believe in each other, they back each other, they fight for each other, and that carries on to even after the game. So I think they're in a very good spot, and barring any serious injuries going forward, this team should continue to make noise. And right now, we may have seen the preview of the AFC Championship game, with the only question being, is it going to be played down in Baltimore or up in Foxborough? That's the only question right now.
Well, we got a lot of work to do here and a lot of games. Dennis Koulatsos, of course, joining us from Coons Florida Security Boulevard. Tell everybody about you've done a name change. You've done a name flip on me here, Den.
Yeah, you know what? I think the Dennis Koulatsos show is probably it's time to do that just for a branding opportunity for us. And got some things going on at the stadium, some synergy, a lot of things happening. So with that momentum, I thought this was a great time to change the name of the show as we continue to grow. That's everybody's in the growth mode. You're in the growth mode. I'm in the growth mode, and now the show's in the growth mode as well.
Growth mindset. How did you do with the Nationals parade out there? I saw some photos of you at the parade. I'm assuming they were photoshopped. I mean, I'm assuming that wasn't you down in D.C. on Saturday, Dan.
It was not me. I'm not a big DC fan of anything, right? So.
Well, I saw you at a Caps game now. Come on, there are pictures of us.
Yeah, you know what, Caps? Yeah, I do like the Caps. I like hockey, baseball. I'm like that guy on SNL, Jazzlo, watching hockey. Let's do that baseball. I'm not a big baseball fan. I did watch Game 7 though, Nestor, although I did fall asleep in the ninth inning. But anytime you get a Game 7 in any kind of a sporting event, I think it's great for the sport.
Do you have anything you want to say about the Nationals winning a World? I mean, it was a little surreal. Like I mean, Saturday afternoon, I put it on for a minute. It looked just like the Caps parade I attended. I mean, it's the same route, the same colors. It just looked like a redo of that. I didn't watch it. I don't care about the Nationals, and I didn't have sort of Redskin angst. If it was a Redskin parade, I would feel differently about it. And I do deep down wonder why that is, and I'm going to be writing about it a little bit. Nothing has been more devastating to our hometown than for Washingtonians to stop coming for baseball, right? Back in the 90s, those were the people leaving behind money at Ruth's Chris, right? Those were the people going to your sponsors and mine for a crab cake, right? Those people are never, ever, ever coming back. And of all the things that Peter squandered, that's probably something that, when I'm writing about it in my deep recesses, that we're here trying to get a third parade for our football team, but what that parade represents for our city financially I'm talking about. And Light City has been unbelievable. I want everybody to come down to Light City. Dennis, I want you to bring Margot. I want you to bring Chris. I want you to bring the grandchildren. I want you to bring the employees. I want you to bring everybody down for Light City. But there was something about watching that thing 38 miles away and our baseball team and realizing, my God, if we played this thing right, they never would have had a team there. They never should have had a team there. When we built Camden Yards here, the whole notion was Washington will never have a baseball team. Not only do they have a team now, they have parades there.
Yep. No, I get that, Nestor, and I get the everything that you're saying. Now, from a sporting perspective, though, anytime you see seven games, it's wonderful. And you know what? The other thing is the home fans never got a chance to celebrate a victory. Right? That was the most amazing thing, was that the away team, the visiting team, won every single game. I don't know if we'll ever see that again. I don't recall ever seeing anything close to that in my lifetime anyway, so that was a historic matchup. But it would be nice if our baseball team did get their act together. This became a two-sport town again versus a one-sport town. And, give us reason to cheer. But, look, if they're following the blueprint of the Houston Astros and more power to them, I'd love to go to the stadium, but let's give us something to go take a look at. Give us a good brand, as we're talking about branding this morning.
Well, and we're at a point here where the Ravens couldn't be any better, and really the Orioles couldn't be any worse. And when I say they couldn't be any worse, I just want to put this into perspective one more time. We'll get back to football. Dennis, the Washington Nationals won the World Series, right? They weren't a thing 15 years ago. They were never supposed to be a thing, and now that's there. And the Orioles lost 100 games again. And I'm really having a hard time getting that together, but the Ravens have reignited everything about the purple flamingos on the lawn and Lamar Jackson, and it creates an even bigger chasm between the football and the baseball team in this town and what that enthusiasm looks like, because you were a part of that on Sunday night, and that's the same kind of energy they had Saturday afternoon down in D.C. Let's get back onto the Ravens here for a minute then. The Lamar Jackson experiment and where this is and what teams are going to want to do to stop it. Where are you if you're a defensive coordinator in Houston, San Francisco, Buffalo, in getting ready for this thing? Because the one thing we talk about with team is the Cleveland Browns. Remember when they were going to win the division, way back 6 weeks ago? And they came in and they kicked our asses 5 weeks ago. So it's not that long ago that I don't remember it. But there's so much of the coaching and the Odell Beckham and, the me, and give me the ball, and Baker Mayfield's going to snip at reporters and all that stuff. And meanwhile, I visit with Hollywood Brown, who I really expected to be a different kind of personality. He's a really humble, kind of quiet kid, honestly, and he's not a guy that needs 14 catches and 198 yards. And he had 3 receptions and 48 yards, and he sat there, and I don't know what his outfits are. I mean, he's got some unique couture, but 3 catches, 48 yards, and couldn't be happier that the team's winning, right? That nobody's talking about give me the ball, I need to be the star, I need catches, I need pancake ball. I mean, even Matt Skura got himself a pancake down at the goal line. But there's nobody here padding stats in Baltimore right now.
Well, the only person happier about Nick Boyle catching a touchdown pass, his first one in his career, was Lamar Jackson and the rest of his teammates, and that's part of the culture of this team. Now, if I have to face Lamar Jackson as a defensive coordinator, the first thing I recognize is I'm playing against a football player, which I think is what everybody has missed. This is not a quarterback. This is not a running back. This is a football player by definition, and he's a winner. He's got a big heart. When he got drafted on draft night, his feelings were hurt. He was supposed to go a lot higher than what he went. The Ravens traded back into the first round, we all know, with a 32nd pick to draft him. And what did he say? He says, I'm going to bring Baltimore a Super Bowl, right? And that's been his mission. He's got a chip on his shoulder the size of Texas. He's going to execute. He's going to do whatever he needs to do to make himself better. But I'm playing against a football player. Now, how do you defend a football player? Look, it's mano-a-mano. The defense has got to win their one-on-one matchups, regardless of the scheme. You have to recognize he's going to get his yards. You just got to try to take away one of his favorite weapons, but the way he spreads the ball around between Andrews and Hurst and Hollywood Brown, and maybe we'll see Miles Boykin catch it out fire at some point, and Willie Snead, somebody asked me, why did they extend Willie Snead? Well, why wouldn't they? The guy's hard-nosed, he's tough, right? He's resilient. He likes playing for the Ravens, and to your point, he's humble. He's not talking to the media about not getting enough looks or enough catches. This is a very scrappy team. They know what they're doing. They've got some really real mojo going on right now, Nestor. And you know what? They're going to be a tough out. And how do you defend Lamar Jackson? No one's quite figured out yet.
Couple big wins that happened as we sat around on the couch Sunday. I know you were tailgating, Den, but Kansas City winning late, Pittsburgh winning late. I mean, even the Chargers really showing up at that road game they played at home against the Packers out there. A couple of big AFC wins that other teams are staying alive as well. I'm not doing too much scoreboard watching, but I thought the Chiefs win was gritty.
Yeah, Chiefs showed up for sure. I watched the entire Pittsburgh and Indianapolis game, and Look, Pittsburgh with the Mason Rudolph on their offense, all they're doing is checking the ball downfield. They're playing good defense. They're trying not to turn the ball over. They're trying to keep games tight. The Colts now with the injury to Jacoby Brissett, that's going to set them back a bit. And there's not that many teams that have separated themselves in the AFC. As long as Patrick Mahomes comes back healthy for the Chiefs, right at the top right now you have the Chiefs, the Patriots, and, of course, the Ravens. But it's one game at a time. The team cannot afford a letdown against the Bengals when they go on the road this week. But, look, you got to like where they are at this point as the landscape of the NFL is starting to take shape now.
All right, here's Dennis Koulatsos. He's out of Coons Florida Security Boulevard. The Dennis Koulatsos Show. Listen, you're going to find me 25 cents every time I say SSV, okay? So I'm going to,
not a problem.
I'm going to have like a month and a half between now and Christmas to sort of get into the realm of doing it the right way. The Dennis Koulatsos Show will be heard from 3 until 5 here on Thursday, and of course rebroadcast on Sunday morning. You can follow. Are you still the SSV on WNST on Twitter? Like, what do I say on Twitter?
Yeah,
now?
you know what? I've got to talk to you and Peter about that. You guys have to help me out on a technical basis of what to do with that. So we'll figure it out next day or two.
All right, man. Blocking, tackling, preparing for the Cincinnati Bengals. And no one here is celebrating the Washington Nationals victory, but we are going to talk about it because it's affected our town. Dennis will be around. I will be around. And, of course, Luke will be out in Owings Mills. And, of course, if there's any breaking news at all, you get it first on the WNST tech service. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me 24 hours a day from anywhere. I'm on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat and Instagram and anywhere you are. We are very, very happy that the Ravens are in first place. It is a beautiful get your purple flamingos out on the lawn kind of week. We are WNST.net and Baltimore positive, and we never stop talking. First place Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore sports.